Welcome to the virtual college exploration for all New Jersey students. We're sponsored by the New Jersey Association of College Admissions Counseling and StriveScan. Thank you for joining us. A few housekeeping announcements before we get started. Just want to let you know that you can use the Q&A button on your screen at any time to type questions to our presenters. Your camera and microphone are off, so the panelists can't see or hear you. And this is just one of the many different sessions happening. We do have a couple more tonight if you want to join. And the presentation is being recorded and will be available within a week at the same website, NJACAC.org. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to our presenters.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. I'm just going to get my screen up there. My name is Alana Stewart. I'm the regional manager for the University of East Anglia for the USA and Canada. I'm actually based in Michigan, so in the same time zone as you, not too terribly far. However, if you do see us in person, which will hopefully be soon, it may be my colleague Graham that you run into. He's based in the UK, and he is the one that typically will travel out to the East Coast. He's very great. And he has been traveling to the US now for at least a few seasons. So the other person you see listed on this first slide is Nicole Lim. She is our student ambassador, and she is from California. She's in her last year of studies now, studying international development. I will share contact details on the last slide, but she's excellent if you do have any questions about what it's like to be studying at the University of East Anglia. The University of East Anglia is known as UEA. We were founded in 1963, so as an institution that makes us relatively young. But since then, we've done a really good job at establishing ourselves as a reputable, internationally recognized institution. And I'll talk about some of the rankings, again, that do establish that a little bit on the next slide. We are a public institution. We also are based on a campus. I will show you that later. And then we are a research institution. So a lot of our professors are doing groundbreaking research in their fields and contributing a lot of work to their respective areas of study. So it's a great place to go. We are part of the Norwich Research Park, which is one of the largest research producers outside of London, Oxford, and Cambridge. So while we are ourselves, maybe a little bit of a smaller city and, maybe a medium-sized university, we do, again, create a lot of research output in a wide variety of fields. Our subject areas are comprised of over 4 faculties and 23 schools. We do have over 160 undergraduate degrees, and I'll show a listing of those later so you can see if we offer what you want to study. We do both undergrad and postgrad degrees. And then finally, our student body is about 17,000 students, of which 17% are international from about 100 different countries. So we do have a pretty good showing. Take note of that building that's in the background there. We'll be talking about it in 2 slides. So it's worth noting there so you can remember what I'm referring to. These are those rankings which I just referenced, but these, again, just establish us as a reputable, legitimate place for you to be continuing your education. We are within the UK top 25 and the world top 200. We also, in that top row of, and in the middle, have the TEF Gold ranking. That is the highest ranking you can achieve. It might look a little bit older, but it's only done every so many years. I think we're going to be due to be reviewed soon. And so within that, obviously, we're hoping to maintain that gold achievement. And then finally, in the bottom right-hand corner, you can see we're 10th in the UK based on quality research output. So again, that just proves that there's a lot going on in terms of research. One of the recent Nobel Prize winners, Dr. Houghton, who's part of the US and UK, US-UK team, won the Nobel Prize in medicine, and he did that because he discovered the hepatitis C virus. So really cool thing. He started with UEA at his undergraduate degree, so it's nice to have one more Nobel Prize with ties to UEA. So what we're known for is the first creative writing course in the UK. When students ask us what our more popular courses are, what we're known for, without a doubt, it's definitely creative writing. Some of the alumni I'm going to speak about are alums of that program itself. So we have very reputable people, very famous people who have come out. And then the environmental science program too, we had the first School of Environmental Science. So our research within climate change is very well known, and we were at the forefront of that field. So back when they were just establishing the fact that climate change is real and is something that we need to be concerned about, it was UEA scientists along with some others that were part of that team that did that scientific research. Our most popular majors, so the larger ones that we have on campus, are pretty similar to what you might see on most college campuses, but our health sciences, biological sciences, business, and then this last category is it covers a lot of options, but politics, philosophy, language, and communication studies. So we do have a wide variety of majors to offer, and you can kind of see that because creative writing and environmental science research are kind of opposites on the academic spectrum, that we do well in a lot of different areas. We do tend to offer generous scholarships that cover about 25 to 50% and maybe even a little bit higher than that. They're undetermined yet for 2021, but historically they have been a little bit more generous than what maybe some other universities might have to offer. And I will again talk about these on a later slide. And then finally, the reason why I told you to note that building in the first slide is because it was dedicated in the fall of 2019. It is our new science building, also known as Neal Hall. Dr. Jane Goodall did the dedication for that building this past fall, so fall of 2019. And then we have a brand new engineering facility called the Institute of Productivity, which is going to be home to multi-million-dollar brand new state-of-the-art engineering equipment. And it will allow our engineering students to collaborate with community members who will also be able to utilize that center. So it's really nice to have that community collaboration. Engineering is a really good example of how our community interacts with our students. And they are putting, I think they're establishing a school of engineering for us. So there's a lot more emphasis being put on engineering at UEA in the coming, in the coming years or in the immediate future. Finally, we do have a building for arts and humanities that was slated to begin construction. Hopefully it has, and COVID didn't delay it too much, but it should be opening up in 2022. And that's called the Sky House. So again, it's going to house some of our arts and humanities and some of our social sciences, and that's going to be retrofitted on some of the already existing buildings that we have on campus. These are our notable alumni in terms of authors. So the one in the middle is probably the most famous one, or I think that crosses over to the US. The best, some of his films have been translated or transferred into film. So that's On Chesil Beach and Atonement. Obviously, you may have also read the initial books as well that those movies were based on. There's also Kazuo Ishiguro, who's a Nobel laureate, and then Anne Enright. And all of these authors have won the Booker Prize. On the next slide, we have our alums that you may have seen on the big screen. So we do have a drama program. We have one of the doctors from the Doctor Who series, John Rhys-Davies, who is in Lord of the Rings, and Matt Milne from Downton Abbey. The last actress that you see there is from The King's Avatar. She's really famous in China. So if you've seen that movie, you may know about her. You may know about her in other contexts as well, but she has been back to campus and done some social media work for us. So obviously really proud of these alumni, but there are other famous people within their respective fields. It's just that if you're not familiar with that field, you may not know who these people are. But again, I did mention, the example of like Dr. Houghton, who has won the Nobel Prize in this, actually in the past week or so. University of East Anglia is located in Norwich, England. So where that pink glint, that's what we call that kind of star-looking thing, is on that map. So kind of in that lump that's on the east side of England. We are about an hour and a half northeast of London by train and about 30 minutes from the stunning coastline. So you can go to the beach and hang out there. They have these really cute beach, little beach shacks, I would say, that are painted all different colors. They actually make for really nice photos, and it's just nice and relaxing there. To spend some time. But we're in the countryside kind of area of England. There's a lot of farmland in there, so it makes it very relaxing. It's very pastoral there. But the city of Norwich is the largest city for that area. And it's about 130,000 people within that city. And it does have everything to offer for students. We even have an international airport. So what you would typically do actually is fly from New Jersey all the way over to Amsterdam and then fly backwards. I say all the way over to Amsterdam. Amsterdam's actually only a 50-minute flight from Norwich. So you actually lose some time because continental Europe is an hour ahead of England. So just one of those funny time zone flight time facts for you. This is our castle that we have in the city center of Norwich. It is pretty much a fortress castle. It's not meant to be a pretty castle so much, but it is up on a hill and it is a square. So again, served its purpose of protecting those who live there. We are a historical city. We have that UNESCO City of Literature designation, and we were the first in England to carry that designation. There are 30 medieval churches in the city of Norwich, and so you're surrounded by history. You have that cobblestone street, the streets lined with pubs, restaurants, and shops. It's very quintessentially British, kind of your typical British city, but very different than anything than we have in the United States. And I found that when I'm there, I like to spend at least a day downtown shopping and make sure that I have some time to explore the city center and everything that it has to offer. Because on top of it being old and very charming for us, it does have a lot of modern amenities. So you can see here in this photo kind of that juxtaposition or contrast between the old and the new. So there is a lot of shopping in that downtown area. I think there's about 4, maybe even more malls within 5 minutes walking from each other. Again, not to mention the little shops that are down in the city center area. It's also noted as one of being the safest cities in the UK pretty consistently. And we've been noted this year as one of the top 10 cities in the UK to live in. And then we've also won a designation as being the most vegan-friendly city in the UK. So again, even though we're a smaller place, or relatively small place in the grand scheme of how large a city can get, we do have a lot to offer. It's kind of that eclectic lifestyle for students that you might be looking for. The other fact is that even though you have all these amenities and it is, again, a very nice place to live, low key, it does have a low cost of living too. So the affordability factor is there for you in Norwich. Our campus is located about 3 miles from the city center, or about a 20-minute double-decker bus ride from that proper city center. So easily accessible. We are on 320 acres of parkland. So there's a lot of green space. If you were actually to, kind of go over to the left side even farther, you would see more green space. We do have a lake. There's barbecues that kind of line the lake so students can have barbecues with their friends. You could also see people walking their dogs quite a bit, and students enjoying that green space when it is warm enough outside for them to do so. It's also great to have all this extra space on campus because it's allowed us to have some social distance and COVID-friendly events for our students as they've started to come onto campus within the past month or so. So for example, they had an outdoor art exhibit, and it was based on light themed art. So the art was lit up, so it was meant to be viewed at night so students could stay 6 feet away from each other, be safe, but also be viewing these really cool art installations. And then another example of that is that we had a big top circus tent on campus this past weekend. So students were able to go see the circus again outdoors. So it was a little bit more COVID friendly and obviously done in socially distanced 6 feet away, personal protective wearing measures set in place. Accommodation that you see marked on here with a house, those are what we would refer to in the US as residence halls, or old school dormitories. But those are all options for you where you can live. And I will talk more specifics about accommodation later. The sports park, where you see all the pitches, courts, fields, you can see the track there. We do have the largest indoor sports park in Britain. So if you're into staying fit, we have a cardio and weightlifting equipment within that facility. We also do offer sports scholarships. So if you play one of our kind of elite focused sports, you might be able to get a scholarship. It is not like NCAA, in the sense that it might track you into the professionals, but it would still be an opportunity to be a part of a team and play against, other teams and other universities. Other highlights are our student union. We get 60 or more live music gigs per year. There's also pubs there, and that's kind of, again, where a lot of our student events would take place. Our library is 24/7 that you see marked there. It's a really nice facility equipped with computer labs for students to use. And then finally, the last thing I'll mention, which is also on the next slide, but you can take note of it in the top left-hand corner, is the Sainsbury Center for Visual Arts. So this is our museum on campus. We do have works of art and sculptures and statues kind of spread throughout campus, which is pretty unique. But the reason I mention this is because you may have actually seen the University of East Anglia before. You just don't know you have, because we're featured in the Avengers films. So the image that just popped up is how we would appear in the films. So they've obviously, CGI'd other buildings and the environment around the building itself, but that design, again, is our Sainsbury Center. So it's a point of pride for us. They have come to campus to film. And I think the reason why we were selected for this is because one of the co-directors studied script writing at UEA. So again, one of our little ties to Hollywood. And then you do never know also, in addition to the vendors who you might see on campus, the Royals do occasionally come and make visits. So here we have a picture from 2017 when the Queen visited campus. She was there to check out a Fijian art exhibit at the Sainsbury Center. So you have somebody dressed in the, regular traditional clothing that just happens to be a half-naked man. Doesn't look like she was quite expecting to see that when she got out of her car. So kind of an interesting photo, I think a really cool photo that captures the moment. And I also like to point out that she's wearing UEA colors because magenta is one of our accent colors. So kind of a cool thing too. Again, just goes to show that you never know who you're going to see on our campus. And it's quite exciting, obviously, for our students when some of the Royals do make an appearance. Other things to mention, a few other highlights on campus, so that the sports park has an Olympic-sized swimming pool in it. So this is also a place that the community can utilize, so encourages that community university involvement. Again, the library is 24 hours, open 24 hours a day, so if you need a quiet place to study, you can stop in there at any time. And then we do have the 80 sports clubs, so I talked about, the sports park too, but there's about 80 sports clubs you can join, for both men and women, and men and women's teams variations on a lot of our athletics. We do even have American football. I always say I'm not guaranteeing it's going to be that good, but we do have a team on campus nonetheless, so you could continue to play. Our Career Central office is going to be where you get help with your resume. Also, they will have international specific employment events. They've done a good job at catering to our international students because they make up a decent portion of our student body. To take note here too, we are starting within the UK a 2-year post-study work visa next year. So anybody who graduates starting in 2021 would be able to stay in the UK for 2 years once you apply for the visa and if you are approved. What this does is allows you to search for a job. It does not guarantee you a job, but you could stay even if you end up getting, a job as just working in a shop or working as a waiter or waitress or even a bartender. But yeah, it's a nice option to have to be able to stay for the least amount of time. If you did apply for this, would be 5 years. So kind of nice. We do not make students buy into a meal plan. We do what's called self-catering, and this is a lot of the options in the UK, or a lot of the universities do this as well. We have cafes, cafeteria style eating, kind of grab and go options too for students, but we do have food on campus. It's just that, again, we don't make you purchase a meal plan, which then allows you to control your finances a little bit better and choose what you want to eat. Our residence facilities do have more kitchen facilities than what you would typically find in the US. So a lot of our students end up cooking their own food, and there is a smaller grocery store on campus where you'd be able to buy some of the ingredients. And then finally, in that last photo on the bottom right-hand side, you can see an example of what our lecture theater would be. Because we don't have larger liberal arts or general education requirements in the UK, our classes tend to be smaller, again, than what you might find in the US. So I'd say our lectures are probably going to top out around 80 students, maybe a bit more. And then our seminar classes are going to get a bit smaller than that too. So you can kind of see an example of where you might be studying, but know that that's not probably going to be full, and also know that you'll have smaller breakouts of those courses as well. This is going to flash a bit of the examples of clubs and societies we have. Again, the clubs are our sports teams. The societies are going to be what you know as student organizations. So ample opportunities for students to get involved in things outside of their intended major. And this landed on our rock climbing wall, which is also featured in our indoor sports park. So a lot of ways for students to stay fit. And I do know that our student ambassador, Nicole, happens to go there because my colleague ran into her when he was about to climb and she was already there climbing. And then some of the gigs that we've had in the past are going to flash before you. You may not recognize any of these, but you'll be familiar with the UK music scene, I think a lot more, even the European music scene a lot more after you attend UEA. We also do get larger names that are internationally recognized. So we do have or have had people in the past like Ed Sheeran, Katy Perry, Coldplay, and Snoop Dogg. So a wide variety of music there for students. I even had a PhD student, an alumnus, tell me that he really enjoyed getting familiar with the British music scene and was introduced to a lot of great music once he was at UEA studying. And obviously with COVID this year, we unfortunately aren't having these gigs because it's not possible to do them in a socially distanced way, but hopefully with those of you who are watching and get there, by 2020 or beyond, 2021 or beyond, we will be able to host things like that again. With student support, we do have a lot of variations. We have international student support who can help you out with the visa process and also help adjust you to life within the UK. So, things like starting a bank account or getting a cell phone SIM card or, all those other little things that you'll need to figure out once you're in the UK. We do have people help out with that, especially during our international student orientation. We also do have mental health support for students. So if you need, if you end up developing some anxiety or if there's, homesickness or cultural fatigue, you can go and speak to somebody about that. And then if you are on any individual education plan and IEP, we can make those adjustments too. You just have to let us know and work with our disability support. So whether that's a learning difference or a physical difference, we can, again, help you with those accommodations on campus. So again, really robust student support for our students, and we want to make sure that our students are happy and healthy. We do have also a dentist and a doctor's office on campus for students to utilize. Again, accommodation in the UK refers to where you're going to be living. So we do have some shared options, although that is by far a lot rarer than actually having your own room. So it's the flip of what you think about in the US. So about 95% of our rooms have their own single space and about 5% are shared. So sharing is a more affordable option where if you're to live by yourself and have an ensuite, which means you have your own bathroom and your own shower, that's going to be a more expensive option. But there are pretty much price ranges for all budgets. So no matter what you or your parents have, maybe to give to this, or a parent or a guardian, or even if you're funding on your own, we would have something that would fit within your budget for this. Those are on the bottom left hand, the kitchen facilities are highlighted within that photo, but they tend to have ovens, stoves, microwaves, refrigerators. They are shared spaces between, I'd say, about 12 and 17 students, which are in what's called a flat. But those tend to be your social areas. So students will go there before they go to a musical gig, or they'll go out, or they'll go there before they go to the clubs out in the city of Norwich. So really just kind of, again, a meeting social space on top of also being able to prepare your food on your own there. So again, a lot of students do cook for themselves. We pretty much do have everything included that you would need, and we do guarantee for your first year, although it is not a requirement to stay on campus. We do highly recommend that you do so, and in subsequent years you can get off campus, and a lot of the area around the housing around campus tends to be more for students, but you can pretty much live anywhere in the city. We even do the first year have an option for students to live in the city center. We have a company or a building that we're associated with, but is not necessarily fully UEA supported. So kind of an option there if you did want to live within the city center. These are our 4 faculties, so arts and humanities, medicine and health, science and social science. I've already highlighted creative writing and environmental science, but we also do well with business, economics, international development, and some of the medicine and health programs. It's worth taking note that our standard programs are 3 years. A lot of the options, though, here that you see will have variations of a year abroad or a year in industry. So with that, it does extend it to 4 years. However, you're not paying 4 full years of tuition and fees, because that additional year where you're abroad or you're in an industry placement, which is like an internship or a job, you're usually paying a third or a quarter of the cost. So it still ends up being price efficient for students, even if they're, again, looking for that 4-year option. With this, you do have to know exactly what you want to study, because we don't do the liberal arts requirements. You just go directly into your courses, which allows you to study them in depth, as opposed to the liberal arts breadth that you usually do get within the US. But you do, again, have to know what you want to do. You cannot come in undeclared, and you cannot usually change your major. So again, we're there for students who know exactly what they may want to study. And so again, these are just our schools that we have. Again, you will find that there are 160 undergraduate degree programs that we have. The last thing on this slide to note is that anything that requires a certification or licensure in the US, so things like medicine, law, nursing, or even education, those do not directly transfer back with that certification or licensure. So you would have to figure out what it would take to come back to legally practice in the US. That may be things like a credential evaluation. You may have to take extra courses. You may have to go through licensing exams, and you may have to do residency or observations or clinicals. It really just depends on the field that you're looking at. So it's worth checking in if you do have any questions regarding those. But anything that's more general, so even things like engineering, philosophy, psychology, those should transfer back to the US with no problem. Again, it's just those that require professional certification or licensure. You can find us on the UCAS application, which is kind of the UK Common App, and we hope to be one of your 5 choices. You are only allowed to select 5 universities or 5 programs to which to apply, and so it is a little bit more limited than what you might be used to. On that application, you'll fill out kind of your normal details and send transcripts to us. We're requiring you to write an essay, and that same essay goes to all of your options. So it is important to keep it more general and focused in on the program you want to apply for instead of a university in specific. In that essay, we look for what you want to do, why you want to do it, and how you've prepared for it. And kind of on the back end, if you know what you want to do with that degree, that always kind of helps, but it's totally fine, as a 17 or 18-year-old, if you don't know exactly what you want to do with that degree, but kind of explaining your passion for that field and why you are pursuing it. And then we do require a letter of recommendation from either a teacher in the field that you're interested in going into, or also it can be a counselor that kind of consolidates teachers' opinions and teachers' perspectives. Our requirements for 2021 are still under works, are still to be determined. We understand that accessing SAT and ACT are a problem. However, they have never been a requirement for us, and we don't plan to make them a requirement, but we do require some testing, and that's to kind of replicate the curriculum that the UK students take in high school. So with that, we do require 3 AP exams, usually with a score of 4 or more, and then the IB exams, usually a score of 5 or 7 if you're in an IB curriculum or have access to a la carte IB courses. We do require interviews for some of our courses. The vast majority of them can be done online. However, medicine is typically done in person, except for this year, which it will be done online as well. But with those, it's important to, just know that they might be asking you questions, having a conversation with you, just getting to know a little bit more about you to see if you're a good fit for the program. Excuse me. And then finally, our program like drama would require an audition. And if you do end up applying to any art schools, which we don't have at UEA, but if you do need any, have any art programs that you end up applying for, then they might require a portfolio. And I don't think we have any requirements of portfolios except maybe creative writing. They might want to see a sample. So that's pretty much it for us. If you are thinking about medicine, please reach out to me directly because I can go through that with you. It is a very different process than what other students will go through. Again, our 2021 scholarships are to be determined. We don't have those named quite yet. We hope by the end of November. That's what I'm crossing my fingers for, but hopefully sooner. Again, the costs have been covered by our scholarships of the cost that has been covered has been about 25%, and that was automatic scholarship. So if you applied and you received an offer from us and you were, successful with your application, then you get that 25%. We also had an essay scholarship, which was up to $10,000, which covers half, if not more than half, of our cost. So those were excellent scholarships to have. This year, or what you might see for 2021, is you may have to apply by essay, but again, those are still being determined and will be listed on the website once we figured them out. We are FAFSA loan eligible. So if you and your family are eligible for those loans, you can get the FAFSA loans and take them to the UK. A lot of the UK schools are FAFSA loan eligible. So please make sure you fill out the FAFSA and put on our school code so that we can offer you the FAFSA loans. And then that last point there, within your Tier 4 student visa, which is the visa you will need to legally come study in the UK, they do allow you to work either on campus or off campus. So during studies, you can work part-time, and then during breaks, you can work full-time. So this money is not meant to cover the full cost of tuition fees, but rather it will supplement and maybe give you some extra spending money to maybe go out to the clubs, or go out to the pubs, or go out shopping, depending on what, how you want to spend that money that you end up earning. So again, a variety of jobs on campus. The student union usually employs a fair amount of students. We also hire international student ambassadors too. So again, just a wide variety of options for students who are looking for work. Our costs are listed here. So our undergraduate costs start at about $22,000 per year. Again, please note that the standard programs are 3 years. And then even if you do a year abroad or a year in industry, you're not going to pay that full cost. So starting at $22,000, lab courses are a bit more expensive just because of the equipment that you utilize. And then finally, our medical program is the most expensive. Our scholarships usually don't qualify or don't apply to our health and our medical and health science program. So please be aware of that too. Make sure you're checking out the terms and conditions of all of our scholarships that we have. We say we're cost comparable to out-of-state institutions for a lot of students, but it just really depends on where you're looking at. But again, if you do the total cost when you look over 3 years of tuition fees, instead of paying 4 or more, because your degree actually might take more than 4 years to complete in the US, we find that we're very cost comparable, if not even cost friendly, to a lot of students and their families. The cost of living is set by the UK Visa and Immigration Team. So this is the cost to live outside of London. London, being a larger city, one of the larger cities in the world, has its own cost. So when you look at the cost of living, please take note of this, that this is, again, a governmental given figure. You probably can live more affordably than this in Norwich, but on the flip side of that, if you wanted to, you could also probably live more extravagantly depending on the financial choices that you're making. But again, this is a good ballpark figure. So all said and done, our cost would start at about $34,000 US dollars. And of course, our rates are dependent on the currency conversion between the pound and the dollar. UEA has done a lot to fight COVID-19. So we have very early on started printing 3D ventilator parts. We also partnered with ADNAMS, which is a distillery, and we work to make hand sanitizer. And then we also pioneered, some of our researchers pioneered a portable testing kit, which would give a result in about 50 minutes. So pretty impressive at the beginning of the fight. We also were called to sit on national panels, and then also to do, we are doing work on mental health. So the mental health effect of COVID-19, not just obviously the physical sickness, the physical virus, but more so on that mental health side of isolation and what the shutdown has done. With campus, we do have a hybrid model, so students are back on campus. Students from the U.S. had to quarantine for 2 weeks before they were able to, kind of go out and do things. Our student ambassador did live through that, so if you want to see how that went, you can speak with her. So we just started classes about 2 weeks ago now. We have had a couple cases, but we haven't had an outbreak, and I'm going to knock on wood right now. But with most institutions, they have seen some cases pop up just because of the nature of bringing students together from all across across the country and also internationally. We do free testing for students, and it is elective. So if you choose to get tested, you can absolutely do so. We also will do contact tracing. Students have to wear masks. Everything is socially distant. We are cleaning things more often to make things more safe. Also, campus is marked with one-way paths. So students are allowed to, they have to follow those pathways so students aren't directly crossing each other as they walk through campus. So we're doing our best to keep our students as well as our staff safe because obviously that's our top priority. And we do have to follow all governmental regulations as they are set forth. So the good news is Norwich has a relatively low infection rate in general and overall. So you're going to not only a safe place, in terms of being named safe, just in general, but also pretty safe from COVID, or being pretty protected from COVID as well. Last couple of things, we'd love to have you come visit. So maybe if you're a junior this year, you might be able to come before your senior year next summer if travel opens up a little bit, because getting onto campus is a really great thing. But we understand that is absolutely, it's a financial stress and it may not be possible. So please connect with us on social media. We do that. UEA America is run by our student ambassador, Nicole. So she puts her perspective on there, as well as some of the other maybe more official parts from UEA, from UEA's official Facebook. We also have an international Instagram, so that's going to feature international focused stuff, as well as, again, pulling stuff from the general UEA Instagram. And then finally, the YouTube, well, we have Twitter, so not finally, but YouTube is a great place to check out videos. So there's a drone video, so drone tour of campus. We also talk about a lot of the research that's going on. You can get a good sense of campus. There's a spoken word poem done by one of our alumnuses. And then we also have alumni. And then we also have other focused videos too on there, like dog walking. So you can do dog walking as a student, and the dog that's on that is absolutely adorable. So again, a lot of things happening on campus. Please dial in. Please also check to see what other students are tagging us in. So #UEA, see what students are saying. Get the unofficial picture. And that's not just with us, that's with any other university you're thinking about going to. See what others are saying and see what's in the news. You hopefully will like what you see, but it's also good to see, what's being reported, the bad side of things too. So finally, my contact details. I unfortunately don't have Graham's on here, but if you do want to be put in contact with Graham, I can always do so. It's actually g.wise, W-I-S-E, @uea.ac.uk. My phone number's there also. Please feel free to reach out to me. I am I'm the regional manager, so I do see things, and I can always pass you on to Graham if need be. And then if you're more comfortable or would like to speak to a student, we do have an Ask a Student feature on the website. Nicole is on there, but you can also reach out to her at americanstudents@uea.ac.uk. She's a great contact for you. So any one of us are willing to work with you, bottom line. So if you do have any questions or need any advice, we're more than happy, again, to help you out with anything. So with that being said, I think we have some time here left to see if there are any questions that anybody has about UEA. And I can just wait to see if anything kind of pops up from this. All right, it doesn't look like we have anything coming in. So with that, I will just say thank you so much for spending about 40 minutes with me on a Friday evening. I know that there were probably other things going on. As mentioned, I do know that this will be recorded, so you can view it there if there's anything that you missed. Other than that, we hope to see you physically soon if possible and if safe to do so. Other than that, again, please feel free to contact us, and we hope to see you at UEA.
Thank you so much. What a great presentation. I really enjoyed that. So thank you, students, for joining us. When you close this window, there will be a very quick 4-question survey, and we'd really appreciate your feedback. And also, you'll be able to find a recording of this session in case you want to share it with anyone else you know at njacac.org/virtual fair. Have a good night.